As we jump back in, we're going to look at page 156 in our Be a Scientist handbook or our scientist handbook. And what we're seeing on page 156 is a weather map. Now, just like we did with the table, I want you to take a moment and I want you to look at that weather map. You have it on your page. You can also look at my copy up here. And what do you notice about the weather map? What type of information is given on the weather map? Take a moment and study it. So you have the key that you can be looking at. You have different symbols on the map you can be looking at. Just what are different features you notice that are given on a weather map? Take a moment to study it. One. Coming back together, what information can we learn from our weather map? So making sure we're paying attention to the key and all the different features in our map. What information can we gather from a weather map? Brock, start us off.
It shows how hot and cold it's going to be.
Okay, shows how hot and cold it's going to be. Do you guys see that on there? For example, up by Portland, how hot is it?
60 degrees.
Perfect. What's the weather like in Florida?
Raining.
Raining. So using those numbers, also using different symbols, we can start to see what that weather is like, whether it's telling us what precipitation there is or what the air temperature is. Good. Chloe.
On the key, there's like colors. Like for the 90s, it's like that darker orange.
Uh-huh.
And for the 80s, it's like, I don't know what color that is, but
Orange.
orange. And this is like a lightish yellowish. And the 60s is the yellow.
Perfect. So the hotter it is, the darker the color is represented, and then it gets lighter and lighter for each one. So looking at our map then, knowing that, looking at our map, point to where you see the darkest color. That lets us know, yeah, down by Texas, down in the southern Arizona piece, we know our weather's what? It's hotter, right? Now, we talked about it a little bit. That's going to be closer to the equator, so it's going to be warmer there. So it's going to be the... You need to assign color. Go. It is definitely hotter there. And it's represented on the map showing a different color. What do you notice about those colors as they appear on the map, too? Just take a moment and look at it. If our dark colors are at the bottom, what do you notice as you go through? Turn and tell your neighbor, what do you notice about them?
It's just a little bit. Like it has a cloud in the sun. They'll say, don't show this. They'll say, okay, this is cloudy. So the sun in the cloud is partly cloudy, and in those multiple suns around, there's lightning bolts in Wyoming.
Three, two, one. So if it's really hot down below, what do you notice about those colors on our map too? Emery.
That it changes weather at the top.
Yeah. As it goes up, the weather gets
Cooler.
and so it's changing, different from the top, right? What is the weather like north of Nebraska? You have to use your cardinal directions that we talked about. What is that weather like north of Nebraska? Kyler.
70s.
So we find Nebraska. Zoop.
Nope, that's Kansas.
What am I doing? Right there. And north of us is the
70s.
70s. Good. And we know it's also what? Sunny. Now this is not right now. This is going to be just like kind of a picture of what it might look like. And we see the key and the information. What we are going to do is we are going to look at a weather map for us. And we are going to track our weather over the course of the next few days. Every morning when we come in, Our first task that we are going to do is going to be to pull up our weather and see what the weather is like that day. Sound good? And we're going to track it. We're going to write it down together, and we're going to see what happens to our weather. We're going to see what's happening. I will do Saturday and Sunday for us, and we're going to do it the rest of this week, and we're going to do it through next week, and we can keep going and just to kind of see what that weather's like. The nice thing about this too is every year when I do this, guess what I notice about students' clothing? It matches the weather. If it gets cold, they start to dress warmer because they start to realize that. So we're going to pull it up and we're going to look at our weather here. While I am pulling it up, I want you to take a moment to read page 156.
Today's 40 and 70.